Hi guys, it's Herman from Platinum Racing Products and I'm going to take you through a tour of our facility. So how we all got started was being basically an RB26 GTR enthusiast. We were importing cars back in the late 90s and sort of got sick of doing that so much and more enthusiastic about building engines and dyno tuning cars. So we set up, but then at the time it was called NV Dyno, back in 2013 through to about 18. We're running NV Dyno pretty well exclusively, building RBs and GTRs and loving it. So we started making braces, and from then it led into a cast bracket, and it was just a hobby business. I went into other ventures doing left to right conversions on American trucks and sports cars. Didn't love it. Came back to the RB scene through Platinum Racing Products and decided in around 2018 to go full-time, drop all the other businesses, and I've tried everything, and just stick to something that I was good at, that I was really passionate about, because I've always loved my RBs and my GTRs. And I'm going, you know what, stuff it. I'm going to build a business based on the stuff that I love, developing parts, which I was good at, and I thought, no, I could probably make a business of this. And then I've been running pretty hard and accruing crew and machines and staff and prototypes and parts along the way. Now we're probably one of Australia's biggest manufacturers with definitely the most products under our belt, and we'll show you through the workshop and show you how it all works. Here's one of our latest machines. It's a DMG 5-axis machine called a DMU. This is a really cool machine because you can see the table in the bed spins and the whole trunnion rotates, and then you've got your 3-axis milling up top. But for example, 4-axis machining in one of our horizontal parts, you can only really do the front face and then turn to the side and get a 4th axis. But with this machine, you can, for example, do 3D profiling of this billet cam cover, the front face. You can also turn it down and bore out the mechanical fuel pump parts. You can turn the machine and machine the whole profile, coil bolt holes, all that sort of stuff. There's nothing that you can't really do with a 5-axis machine, although one part at a time and fairly specific in the setup, but it's a kind of a really good complement to an already well set up machining workshop to be able to get the angles and bits and pieces and speed of machining into your parts, because you can come in real nice and close with short machining and rip bits apart at 20,000 RPM. It's a really awesome addition to the workshop. This is one of our 3-axis vertical machines. This is one of our hogs. It just runs and runs and runs all day, every day. At the moment it's doing an RB coil bracket, first operation, and then we'll spin it around and put it in another machine and do the back side. So I'll just get this one running again and we'll show you the next machine. This is another one of our vertical machines, 3-axis. It is a couple of years old now. It's done thousands of hours. We do heaps of work on this machine. It's our Workhorse, another one of them. At the moment we've got a block in here. We machine it for our brace. We cut annular grooves. We clearance it for a 3.2. We do the bigger main studs and head studs. All happens on this machine. We punch out heaps of these blocks for the industry. People buy our braces with them anyway, so we're kind of helping the guys that use the block braces to help them get the machining done. Punches it out a little bit quicker. We're sort of pushing it along. Great machine for that. You may remember a few years ago we did a 10 steps to prep an RB block. That was at an outsourced machine shop. Used to take us 6 months or a year to get them done. Now we've brought it all in-house. You can buy a complete prep block with whichever brace you want. Then your machinist has to just bore and hone, lick the deck, set the tunnel up, all that sort of stuff. But the block will come machined with 1/2-inch studs, annular grooves, relieved for a 3.2, all those bits and pieces, fast turnaround. It's where we're heading in aim of producing our own block, which we're working on, and hopefully we switch our market from trying to buy a second-hand block that we've refurbed or reconditioned to a turnkey type solution ready to go. This is one of my favorite machines. It's called a mill turn, NLX DMG Mori. All our machines are Japanese. All but one is a DMG Mori. They're our favorite brand. They don't let you down. They're high precision. They're awesome. And this machine is the epitome of awesomeness when it comes to sub-spindle, live tooling, bar-fed machine. I'll show you through it. So this machine, we hob the outside profile, although we do have slotting inserts for this type of thing. We hob it, which I'll show you that machine, that old dinosaur. We end up with a part like this. This goes in the main spindle. We hog out the front side with all our live tooling, and then it'll transfer, the sub spindle grabs it off the main spindle, pulls it over to the other side, and then we machine the back side with the reverse tooling here. You end up with a part like this is an anodized version, but you can see it's all machined, both sides, it finishes in one operation. If this part was smaller than 80 mil, we could actually bar feed it and it would happen automatically, parts catch, and it's a full production machine. So awesome machine. We've got a couple more of these on order. These are a lifesaver. These do all our oil caps, all our little mechanical fuel fidgets, our little pump parts, anything small, fitting, that's sort of 2 operations that we need to finish in one go. This machine, because it's got the ability to transfer, it takes the human interaction out of it and it just pumps. Next up is our dinosaur gear cutter. This thing just goes and goes and goes. It's probably about 100 years old. It weighs about 20 ton. Might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it's very heavy to move. What we do is we basically make a gear blank in one of our mill turn machines, hog it out of solid billet. Then we go and put these on the gear hobber. I think we stuck 5 or 6 at a time, and it just goes from the bottom up and cuts all the gear profiles. Then it goes back onto the mill turn that we just showed you and completes the process for a cam gear outer. That's how that one works. This is our Akuma 4-axis twin pallet. This machine has pretty well got us to where we are today. This has made all of our diff hats and alternator brackets and cast brackets up until now, all that sort of stuff. It's a great machine. You can load up the other pallet behind the wall while it's machining on this side, and then when it's done you can call the other pallet and keep machining. So it's a high production machine. She is an old girl and we do have a new one, but we'll never retire this old thing. It's just an awesome machine. We'll have it to the death. This is a NL 2500, another DMG, well, Mori machine. It's a mill turn. It doesn't have the sub spindle, so it all gets done on the main spindle. This is where we do crankshaft prep. It's got a really long bed. It still has live tooling, which I'll show you through. Actually, it's just finished. So as you can see, this is all the live tooling stations. The main chuck here moves the part around. The machine will come and mill out all the bits and pieces. Here we're doing a 2-op because we can't transfer. But I'll show you, there's a 1-op done on the first side. That side is unfinished. This is one that's just come off the machine. As you can see, it's all finished, ready to go. This is one of our first machines, a little Mori CL, high-speed machine, insanely fast. It does no milling, no transferring. It's a single op part, basically just a lathe. Makes all our pulleys without any internal milling. It makes all your little dress-up washers, little spacers, little grommets, bits and pieces, injector blank-off bits and pieces. It's a bar-fed machine and it pumps. Makes all our little oil gallery restrictors, hundreds of them, all that sort of stuff. This is one of our pride and joys. It's never let us down. Great little machine. This is our new beast, our beauty NHX. This thing is going to be our workhorse. It's going to make all our cam covers and everything. It's a pallet pull system, so it's got 5 spare pallets over and above the pallets it's working on, and you can basically queue up 20 jobs, 50, 100 jobs, whatever. Machine runs 24 hours. It's got tool detection. It's got a 180 tool library. It's the latest and greatest in DMG machinery. This machine's going to set us up for hopefully double our production now. So this is us making tombstones. It's relatively just started running this week. So we're making all our own tombstones and fixtures. And Grant here is in the process of running new operations through setting up all our fixtures so we can get into production sometime next week. Here we do some in-house tumble polishing. So this basically vibrates and tumbles these little ceramic beads with some polish, and it restores or polishes before anodizing. Here we're doing some hypertune runners to make them look amazing before we anodize it. and basically after anodizing it still looks polished and stays that way. So we don't do it for a lot of parts, but some people want it done for some parts, and there are some parts that don't turn out beautiful off the bat. We might need to do a little bit of polishing or deburring, so we use one of these machines to do it. This is our anodizing room. This is where all the beautiful colours get done and all our parts that get sold are treated. They're all anodized. They've got a semi-hard sort of coating, colourful, sealed. It's supposed to last. Usually it does, unless you leave it in the sun for a year. But this is where it all happens. So it's not as easy as just dipping the part in some colour like a lot of people think. It gets degreased for half an hour. Then it gets rinsed. It'll go on into anodizing tank where it'll grow a film of anodizing for 40 minutes, an hour and a half, depending on the process. Then it'll go and get washed again. Then it turns around and ends up in one of the 12 baths for colour dye. They're all timed. Everything has to be heated. It's all a different amount of time to get a different shade of colour, and it's all very well synchronized. People don't understand that because you're completing an electric circuit, you need to make hanging rigs out of titanium for every part that you anodize. It's not like you're just throwing it in. It's all got to be hung. It has to complete a circuit. It's got to have good contacts. And sometimes you'll notice we try and avoid it, but in all the parts you'll have some little area somewhere where you can see a little mark where it's not anodized properly. That's just merely where the titanium prongs have grabbed the part. We need to grab it somewhere. So a part that doesn't have any holes in it, for example, nightmare to anodize. But anyway, this is where it all happens. We do a heap of parts through here. It pumps every day. Ultimately, once it gets put in the sealing tank for half an hour, it comes out, they get rinsed and dried and everything. They can go over into etching, which I'll show you now. Once we've manufactured our parts, it comes up to the PRP Stock Room. So this is where all the raw gear sits, obviously before anodizing, before it gets put into kits, any of that sort of stuff. As I say, we try and keep a year's worth of raw stock on the shelf. So as soon as we start to get low in this area, we'll queue the job back up on one of the machines to start running it again. And the aim is to never run out. So just for an example, we might make 1,000 parts or 1,000 cam gear inners or whatever, and they'll come in to this pile here, get sorted out after they're QC'd, and they'll end up in this room. So we've got heaps of raw stock, from braces to gear knobs to parts for mechanical fuel pump fidgets and raw water pump plates, backing water pump deletes, for example, oil pump deletes, coil brackets, everything. Oil caps, it all ends up in this room, and that's how we sort of keep an idea on our raw stock control, and it's how we plan for growth. This is our fabricating room. This is where most of our QC happens. We try and go through all of the QC for braces, deburred, die ground. We do EGT bungs, for example, into our RTEC manifolds, and anything else here that might need a little bit of touching up by hand, a little bit of welding. We try and minimize it, but there is still a need for it, so we've downsized the room a bit, but it still happens. In this room, we do all of our design work. Our full-time designers sit in here, as well as our machine operators. This is where all the camming gets done, and post-processing, which is where you get a CAD type material design or model. It gets cammed up, which is the tool pathing for the machine to operate and run that job, and then it gets post-processed, which is basically the machining files get sent to the machines, and the machines get tooled up to run that particular process. That all happens here. Here's an example of a project that we're working on with Neuron engines. You might have heard of it. It's the KV48 V8 twin K-series engine, put together. We're making the block and the dry sump cam covers and all that sort of stuff for that cool project. There'll be more of that to come. But yeah, this is basically where it all happens. Okay, so we're back to where we started. This is our dispatch room. This is where all the final kits end up, all the anodized stock, it's all on the walls. We can monitor what we're low of because there's a gap in the wall and we know we've got to get a dark blue SR20 coil bracket up there, or 5 or 10 or however it works. All the kits get pulled off the walls, packed into boxes, and we keep an eye on the wall to replenish the wall. So this is where dispatch happens. A lot of kits get put together here, especially final assembly of parts. Bulk kits we get done in a separate area, but they end up here, and there could be what colour fidget spinner, we call these things fidget spinners, for a trigger kit gets put in with the kit, what colour dress up, washers, and a few bits and pieces to finish off the kit before it goes out the door. But this is basically where we manage stock control, dispatch, and finished parts anodized, all here. It's all well and good that we sell our own product, but we also like to sell, promote and package up other products that we don't actually make. For example, ARP bolts. Everyone knows about it, I don't need to sell you them, they're awesome, but it's good to have an integrated brace with an ARP bolt because it's easier to buy it all from the one location. ATI balancers, for example, they need no introduction. They are a world-leading balancer. We just have them on the shelf, it's just easy. We do bits and pieces, you know, high-octane sumps, Plasma Man, Hypertune intakes. We do Callie's stroker cranks. We do our Italian rods and pistons, Platinum Gold Series, big pin stuff. It's going to start popping, you just wait and see. Then we've got obviously all the bits and pieces that complement an engine build. We try and carry them all, promote them all, and we're trying to push for complete kits and whole packages so that people don't have to stuff around and you can go and buy, say stage 1, stage 2, but you know, 800 horsepower package or 1000 horsepower package. Well, the intention is for us to be able to supply you basically a drop down menu with what you want to buy and a suggested power rating for all those components to be able to get a whole engine package from rocker cover to sump, complete with all the bits and pieces in between without having to go to any other supplier, not even Nissan for a washer. Should be able to supply it all, get your titanium bolts and everything that goes with it to be able to plug in an engine basically. Now, onto turbo kits. We've recently started pushing some turbo kits with all the bits and pieces that you need to actually bolt your turbo on, promoting some cool Aussie brands, Turbo Smart gates. We're stocking the whole Garrett, most of the precision range. We started stocking some of this Artex stuff. The stuff just works. Thermal management. It comes with all the little bits and pieces. It fits nicely. You can have any brand wastegate and you just swap a ring and a different brand of wastegate will fit. It'll cop any V-band turbo. It doesn't matter. It's all universal, so it just makes sense. It doesn't take up a whole heap of room. It doesn't hit the engine mount on an RB. You can use this manifold on an RB 20, 25, 26, RB 30 bottom end with a 25 head, or an RB 30 bottom end with a 26 head. It doesn't matter. This is the fast response version, so we only go up to a G40 1050 type thing with this, but the other bigger Big Daddy manifold, that'll go obviously from the G40 up to the G45 or an 86, 85 in a precision. So 2 part numbers cover every possible combination you'd want to ever throw on an RB with any head and any block. It just works. The Evo stuff's amazing. Cast dump pipes as well, you can see over here. So we're teaming up with these top quality brands to supply you a plug-in kit with everything that you need, and we work out all the math and what turbo size we can recommend and which gate to use, and it all just works. We're just making it easy. It's a turnkey solution. Steps that we took to bring processes in-house was more so a necessity to get that process in-house. And having anodizing not in-house was killing us because we wanted to have 12 different colors. Designing had to come in-house. All the post-processing machine, even repairing machines in-house. It just made everything, so fabrication in-house. I mean, if you don't in-source everything, you end up waiting for someone that doesn't care because you're not their priority, and it ended up being the only way to move forward. So yeah, it happened. So the other benefit of having so many different machines is when you're prototyping new parts, you can always prototype a part the hard way or an easier way on several different machines, and as soon as there's a gap somewhere and that part's ready to prototype, you can slip it on or do one operation in one part and then wait for a gap somewhere in another machine to finish the final operation, and you might do another drilling cycle in another machine. It gives you versatility. Walking around GTR Festival or one of the Motive, CUDA events, walk around and realise how much of our gear is on so many cars. It's quite humbling. We do try and push the brand as much as we can and help out all the little workshops, but I'll admit, when I walk past a car and I don't see a part on that car, there's no PRP. How does that even happen? I'm a little bit offended. I think, hang on, what am I doing wrong? What can we do to get our parts on every single car? Because I want to be proud of every RB in the world. We push overseas. Has been an immense growth phase with guys like TRC and Adam LZ now, our big dealer in America. We've got, warehouses in Europe. We've got 340 odd dealers worldwide. Yeah, it's been a big push from every scenario, but getting involved with all the little guys, even the local Australian workshops, pushing overseas, sponsoring builds, Ryan Littoral with his drift scene RB, the S15, Ryan Samut over there, RSR Racing, that fast, Red Super, we love that car. Just getting involved and helping these guys, because we are passionate and we are enthusiasts, and you get a phone call, hey Herm, can you help with this, or what do you think about that? Oh, there's a hole in the market for that, we can make that part, that'd be cool. And you just push and it ends up evolving. It's very hard for us to say no, because everyone that comes to you with a piece of feedback, it'll lead to a change if it's warranted. And everyone that says, hey, I kind of need this part, and well, we can probably make a better one of them, or should we actually, let's go and design something, and we get excited about it, and then we push all the other products to the side, and we're thinking, let's do this for this guy because he's cool, and he's going to give us some promotion, and we're trying to help him, and then in the end we end up selling a whole heap of these parts and getting recognition worldwide. It's humbling, but the business, yes, it has gone crazy out of control. It's hard to keep up, to the point where I've got guys in marketing and we've got guys in every area to try and keep pushing it to stay on this growth factor phase, this exponential curve. Loving every minute of it. Do I sometimes sit down and think, what have I done? What am I getting myself into? Have I gone too big? And then I shake my head. I have a moment of reality there, and I think, yeah, absolutely, I've gone too big. Am I loving it? Yes. Am I going to stop? No. How can we make it bigger? How can we make more parts? How can we get more involved? How can we give back to the community? And all those answers sort of start flowing, and we're back on the horse.